Meow, I'm Tonya Todd, creator of 52 Love. 52 Love began as a blog series, offering one love lesson per week for an entire year of intimacy tips to try with your partner. From there, I hosted the 52 Love podcast, where existing couples came on the show, tried the tips, and shared their experience with it. The book version came out last year, and on February 14th, we have something new to add to the series. 52 Love, A Year of Romance. In this short story collection, 12 authors are joining me in taking characters from our existing works and using one of the 52 Love tips as a story prompt. And to celebrate the release of Volume 1, we are recording author-to-author interviews so that you can hear a little bit about their story process, how they became involved, and how their characters connect to a greater literary universe. We hope you enjoy this behind-the-scenes glimpse. Check out 52 Love, A Year of Romance on February 14th.
So how do you know Tonya?
So I met Tonya at RSJ, which is a virtual romance writers conference. I don't remember how many years ago, but maybe two or three, more than two, maybe three. Um, she was she was a participant, but she was also one of the narrators who read, and she read my story. She read my excerpt.
Oh.
Um, I don't ask me to remember which one it is anymore. I don't. um, but yeah, I that's how I met her, through RSJ, as she was reading my story. And I loved her. I fell in love with her.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I met her through an online Facebook group, and because at the time I was a developmental book editor, and I knew a lot about publishing, and she asked me to be a speaker at the Las Vegas Writers group at their annual conference.
Hmm.
And it happened to be 2020. So we ended up having to be virtual. Um, and that, I mean, that was a lot of fun. I had a really great time with that. And then, and then we kind of lost touch with each other. And I was at what used to be 20 books to 50K in Las
Hmm.
Vegas in, I think it was 2023. And I'm like walking across one of the event spaces, and I see this woman, and I'm like, I know her. And I walked up to her and was like, Tonya. And it was really funny because she's like staring at me, and I'm staring at her, and then I realized, oh my God, we've never actually met in real life. Like, this was like the first moment. It was just kind of like this weird, like, kind of almost bizarre moment of going like, how do I know you? I know you. And so that's how we reconnected. And then we ended up doing, Tonya had a great idea for a panel for AWP, the Association of Writers and Writing Programs. So we collaborated on that. And I've been on her, what was it, the Dime Grinds.
Yes.
And then when I, and then the stories came up, and I was really happy to be able to contribute a story to this collection because I think it's such a great idea.
Yeah, it really is. So, but that's a really nice way to talk about number two, which is which lesson did your characters use? And I'm interested in that.
Mine, I actually didn't have a great choice by the time I got involved with the project. I think there were only two left, but strangely, that one of the ones that was available was one that I probably would have chosen even if I had the full range, which was Playtime. Um, and there was something about that that really appealed to me. Um, uh, and I had the perfect characters that I wanted, that I knew would give me a really great story. And it kind of went it kind of went in a direction that I wasn't, as I was planning it.
Yeah.
And it went in this, what I found was a really great direction, I think. And I had a really good time writing it. which, you know, it is a very playful story.
Well, that's good. Um, yeah, I chose communication, um, because for me, that's really a big issue. Even in the stories that I write, I try not to do the overused, they miscommunicate, they're not understanding each other thing. But I do know that to make any relationship work, you have to talk to each other, and explain your fears. And I know that that's a scary thing. I mean, it's a scary thing for me. Um, so I chose communication. And the story that I went with was, the story of the rock star and the 30-year-old virgin girl who, finally get back together. They're going to get married, and so my second epilogue, which is what this is, um, discusses their shows them having a moment. Well, Rory having a moment because he's a rock star. His band is well known and very popular, and he wants to show her off. And she's like, I want to, and she's talking to her girlfriends and going, I don't want him to not do what he enjoys, but I can't have. And so it's that whole, how much am I willing to sacrifice for him? And he, on the other hand, and she sort of goes away with her girlfriends for a weekend, and his friends in the band are like, what do you mean she's going away? Why aren't you there? And so they're like, you need to go and talk to her and tell her that you are willing to do whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
it was a perfect opportunity for me to show him in a vulnerable place, um, and
Yeah.
for them to come together and figure out. It's a wedding, but what's really important is what's going to happen after the wedding. So if we can compromise here, and I thought that was a cool
Yeah,
way to.
you've got a great line in that story about like, I want to have the wedding, but more importantly, I want to have the life,
Oh,
which is which is a great line.
yeah,
And I think always something that's really important to remember about, you know, about those kind of big events in a relationship, especially a
yeah,
wedding, is that it's not just about the event, it's about the relationship and it's about what happens after.
yep. It's the what happening after that counts. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Speaking from personal experience. 42 years of it, may I add.
I'm right behind you,
Yeah,
actually.
right. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, you know, like you found a way to kind of give another angle to a character that you had already written about. And I kind of did the same thing with the couple that I used, that they were side characters in my very first book. And they're kind of even like ancillary side characters, but they have a really key role in one of the subplots that happens in that. And they are always the character that I am planning to write their book because I absolutely dearly love them, and a lot of my readers really love them because they're very, very sweet. Um, and when you first meet them, they are, I think they're 17, and it's um, they they're involved with a queer youth center that and like their very first kiss happens outside of this youth center, and the landlord uses that as an excuse to try and evict the center, that it's like because of the public display,
oh,
and it's like we don't need seeing that in the neighborhood, and it's like, and so it becomes this big thing for them. And so for one of the characters, and one of the things that I also chat was that I wanted to take on in this book was that I wrote both characters are non-binary. So I never
yeah,
tell you what their gender is. One of them uses they, them pronouns. One of them uses them. So it was a little bit, sometimes it was a little bit of a linguistic challenge for me even writing it.
yeah, yeah,
But um, but I really wanted that non-binary, not, you know, not gender specific. And um, one of the characters had been this very outspoken, very politically active, and as a result of this, had kind of withdrawn. And part of part of my story for the 52 Love anthology was finding a way to start drawing S back out of their shell. And at the time, I mean, they Ess and Xave, they've been together since they were 17. Xave's got this great supportive family. S has this family that basically kicked them out when they found out they were involved with, you know, another queer youth. And um, so as a couple, they become residential directors at the youth center because there's also a residential component there. And then Xave is this, flamboyant, budding fashion designer, gets this great internship opportunity down in Los Angeles. And so they're down in Los Angeles, S is still in San Francisco, and there's distance that's been growing between them. And
Yeah.
it's their anniversary. And Xave hasn't sent a good morning text like they usually do. And S is now starting to feel, and then Xave has this whole treasure hunt that they've developed to get S to go back through all the steps of their relationship. And it allowed me to bring in the other couples from that first series to to show kind of, here are these couples that they had their issues, and here they are now, they've come through those issues. And so it was a way to kind of walk S through. Just because you're having a moment of problems right now, it doesn't mean that it can't work out. And
Yeah.
also, to get that, that it's a game and it's playful and it's, and as it goes on, it just becomes more and more and more excited and
Yeah, I like
more
those. Those are
invested.
I
So,
love that it's really a great idea, the scavenger hunt type thing where you go and you look for stuff. I love that. And it is playful, without being rambunctious.
and it also gave me an opportunity to do something that I really love in my books, which is also to show off um, San Francisco, because that's one of the things that I really love doing. And so in this case, the scavenger hunt takes place at locations all around the Castro. So it's like I have us going to, different coffee shops or, ice cream place, places that were significant for them and
Yeah.
Zoe, at the beginning of their relationship. And that was fun because I could talk about, these locations in the Castro as well.
Well, that's nice. I like that. I like that. Um, oh, I don't know if we're meant to say the title of the book that our stories come from, but the title of
Yeah.
mine is Back at Last. Rory and Chris are in Back at Last. Um,
Okay.
and what's the title of yours?
So mine is A Kind of Forever.
A Kind of Forever.
Yeah.
And okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm
Are you?
I'm don't mind me. My
No,
eyes
no,
are
no,
bad.
no.
Remember I said my eyes are bad.
No, it's okay. So yeah, it's A Kind of Forever.
Yeah.
And the whole series is the Finding Forever series.
Okay, that's good. That's
Yeah.
even better. That's even
So
better.
you've got characters from all three of the books in that series who show up in, with clues for us to, they have the clue that leads us to the next one.
Yeah. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
All right. So, um, I'm enjoying this conversation. You have no idea. Part of the reason I'm enjoying it is that I cannot hear my grandchildren screeching downstairs. I have locked myself away. Okay. So okay, I think you did talk about the fact that what drew you to the tip was
Yeah.
that it was about the playfulness, and I
Yeah.
get that. We don't have enough of that in our lives, do we?
No,
Um,
and I think, I mean, it's interesting revisiting that story because I think I wrote it about I don't remember when I don't remember when I wrote it, but it's been a while, and there have
Yeah.
been other books in between with different characters, and so it's interesting to kind of go back and look at that and see a little bit of yeah, I mean, remembering it's like that playfulness I think is really important, and I think it's really important in relationships too.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be something that's as elaborate as a citywide scavenger hunt. You can even do something like that in your own house, or it's like, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, I mean, I think that play is an essential part of what human beings do together, and it's essential part of of relationships as well.
Yes. I do agree with that. And there isn't enough of it. I know there isn't enough of it in my life. I think a lot of that has to do with how you grew up and, you know, so, and then when you get to a certain age, and I am a woman of a certain age, certain things begin to become more essential for your mental health and so on, so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, I don't know.
So,
I was looking at your. I know that yeah, this isn't in our list, but I was looking at your bio. So you were ghostwriting
oh
again
yes,
before you started.
I started, so I was an assistant principal in a New York City public high school. Um, and before I retired, I, I had been writing for a while, and sharing my stories online with my friends way back in the day. I don't know if you've ever heard of Multiply.
Mm-mm.
So before Multiply, there was Yahoo 360. It was a social, uh, I guess it was like a kind of like a TikTok or an Instagram. And then Yahoo 360 shut down and Multiply took its place. And so I was on Yahoo 360 in its last years. Then I went to Multiply, and that's where I was sharing all my stories. I mean, share them in parts. And then one of my friends on there said, you could put your stories on literotica.com. And I was like, what? I've never heard of it. So, of course, I went looking and I started putting my stories there in serialized form until they were done. And the copyright remains yours. You don't lose your copyright. And someone found me on Literotica. They went and read a story and they wrote to me and said, "We like your story. How would you like to ghostwrite for us?" And I was still working, but I needed something different because I was struggling at work with a principal who hated me and so made my life miserable. And so the writing became my salvation. The ghostwriting became my salvation. And I wasn't getting a lot of money for the short stories I was writing, but it wasn't about the money. It was about the cathartic nature of the writing and the freedom to write stuff I loved. So that's how I started ghostwriting. That was like 2013. So it was a long time. um,
Yeah.
I ghost wrote, and then I made an Upwork profile, and I got more interest from there because I went looking for people, and I found clients that way. And one client, I wrote 20 stories for him, all MM. Um,
Wow.
because I was practicing. I didn't know how to do that. I had only been writing MF, but I had only just discovered gay romances, and I discovered Tal Bauer, whom I love, love,
Oh
love,
God,
love,
yeah. Yep.
love. I love Tal
Yep.
to death. Ethan will always be mine.
I mean, he's such a gorgeous writer.
He's so good.
Oh,
But he's the one who made me go, okay, so I'm not a guy, but I love the way these guys emote. I don't know that that's the right word, but so that's why I
yeah.
ended up doing the ghostwriting, and then it became, oh, you're retired now, you can actually do this. So yeah, I
Yeah.
started with the ghostwriting, and I ended up, after a while, the ghostwriting dried up and I just didn't have time because I wanted to write my own stories as AJ Buchanan, who writes the MM, and as KT Bond, who writes the MF. So that's what I do.
Wow.
Yeah, how did you start?
Um, well, I was trying to be a very serious literary novelist.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I have an
I understand.
yeah, I have an undergrad degree in creative writing. I have a master's of fine arts in fiction. And I was working on a very serious literary novel that was, very heavy, very serious. Um, and it had interest from a top level agent, and I was working on a revision of it for this agent, and um, kind of needed something really light and easy, something that was just a little bit easier to read, kind of, and remember, it's like, oh yeah, when I was a teenager, I loved romance novels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went searching on Amazon one night and discovered, like, oh, there's there's gay romance, there's male romance, and just stumbled down this rabbit hole. And I probably ended up reading about 200, 300, some absurd number of male romances in a couple of years. And, finished up this revision. The agent passed on it.
After
Um,
all of that work.
After all of that work, yeah. And then was still kind of I was still working on that book. But I also got this opportunity there was a reading series in San Francisco that was an erotic fan fiction series. It took a classic work of fiction, took 6 characters, 6 writers, assigned us each a different character, and then asked us to write an erotic fan fiction scene. And the character that I was assigned, I ended up it was we got had Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, and my character was Sidney Carton, whose like whole entire reason for being in that book is to be a doppelganger for Charles Darnay and
Mm-hmm.
die in his place in the Bastille. Except that Dickens kept giving me these lines like, Sidney Carton and his best friend C.J. Stryver were legendary at university for their all-night orgies. And I went, I could write a male scene, which I did. And I had moved it up to a contemporary rather than being back in the Victorian times. And I had moved it up in contemporary, and then those characters just didn't leave me alone. And I was just started as like, I'm having fun with this. This is a really great break from this other book, from this literary book that I have been like working on for 10 years now. And at a certain point, it was doing, the writing of it was really good, and I was coming down to like the end of 2019, and I just went, you know what? I want to finish something in 2020. COVID wasn't on the horizon yet, but I was like, I want to finish something in 2020, and I'm having a really good time with this gay romance novel, and if it goes anywhere, maybe I'll put it up on Amazon. And then I discovered like the whole entire indie publishing thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that became my first book. And actually today, today as we're talking, this is my 5th anniversary since that book was released. Yeah,
Congratulations.
so it's been like 5, yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
I mean, it's 5 years, and I've got like, I think 14 books on Amazon now.
Oh,
Um, oh,
we're kind of sort of in the same place. That's nice.
yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I just basically I haven't looked back because it's so much fun writing these books. And one of the things that I love about romance and is, no matter what form it comes in, is it is always about hope and possibility.
Yes.
And I just, that it's like, it's so, and I think that that's something that's so important right now, that it's just, you know, I kind of, um, I mean, to me, romance grew out of the Greek commedia and the
Mm-hmm.
satire, and all of those plays had that romance subplot, and it
Yes.
ended with a marriage, and that symbolized the rebirth into a new world. And then romance grew out of that and just took that subplot and made it the main story. And it's like, why I just sit there and go like, this is so, romance is always about hope. It's
Yeah.
always about that the world can be better. It's always about, that there are possibilities. And it's like, no matter what people go through, there's still that possibility that things can be
Mm-hmm.
reborn.
Yep. There's the possibility for joy and the possibility for connection. And because we all need that connection.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I I have also been reading romances since I was a child. I used to read Barbara Cartland and Betty Niels. Oh, I loved Betty Niels. She wrote the sweetest. She was an English woman married to a Dutchman. She was
Hmm.
a nurse. He worked in shipping or something. She mostly wrote about English nurses and Dutch doctors. Um, which is fine. I don't, uh, I was just devouring everything, but I loved that her stories there was no sex in them. There may have been a kiss or two, but no sex.
Hmm.
But it was fine for an 11-year-old, right? I read everything of hers. And then I discovered last year or sometime that when I was reading her, she was still alive and writing. Like I was reading her current stuff. I can't believe it.
Mhm.
That makes me old. But anyway, so I was reading her. I read the only American writer I could remember reading, unless Dorothy Sayers is also American, but Janet Daly was writing back then.
Mm.
I discovered her and I read her stuff, which was spicier. I was older, thank goodness. But yeah, it always felt like home for me. I read everything
Mm.
except horror. I read everything except I can't do horror.
Yeah.
Um, and some of the psychological stuff is kind of scary too. But romance always felt like my reading and writing home.
Yeah.
Um, and so now as I've grown older, I realize it's about the connection. It's about
Yeah.
seeing that connection come alive in stories with people that you know are fake, but it doesn't matter because it means it's possible.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it really, yeah, I mean, it really is. And I mean, I think it goes back, like think with both of the stories that we did for the anthology, that it comes back to like, possibility and communication.
Hmm.
That
Absolutely.
that those are two things that are just absolutely at the core of what romance is about.
Yes. Pity nobody, the people who want to look down on romance writers don't understand that our stories are the real stories. They're about people.
Yeah.
War isn't about people, it's about politics. Spy stories, it's about politics.
Yeah.
Everything else is about anything other than human beings and their relationships. Romance is the only one that talks about people as people. Even when they're having those terribly tragic
Yeah.
events, it still comes back to them and how they become who they need to become with
Yeah.
the help of other people. Yeah, you'll never get me not to love romance. It's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. Oh, so I suppose we should be looking at the story. Did I adapt? Oh, we answered that. We talked about how,
We've gone through pretty much all of her
yeah, we've done
all
all
of
of
the
them.
questions, and yeah,
Yep, we've done really well.
I think so.
I
I
think
think we've given Tanya some sound bites.
yes, I hope so. I certainly hope so. And I'm going to go looking for Marie Sinclair now and looking at all your stuff to see what I can buy, right? So, yes,
Well,
because yes, Maurice, if that had been the name I had been given,
yeah.
yes, I would have
Sorry.
been like, I know
Oh,
her. Because I read your name and I was like, I don't know. Am I supposed to
yeah.
know? Yeah. But it's all right. At least
Yeah.
we found out now
Yeah.
who it is we are to each other. And I'm so glad that you've read something of mine to understand. I love that quotation that you gave me back that said it's not about the wedding, it's about the marriage afterwards.
It was actually, it's not even the marriage, it was the life.
It was, oh, I said it was the life.
It was the life.
It
Yeah.
wasn't the marriage, which is true. I mean, that book was written a lot from a perspective of someone who, when I wrote it last year, had been married 42 years.
Yeah.
So I know, I know that of which I speak.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
I rarely write the beginnings of relationships. I tend to, most of my couples, they've been together, or
yeah.
it's just that they're longer term, and it's just something that, something is going on in the relationship, because I mean, I do write the, the getting together stories, but I kind of find them a little bit, I like more complexity, and I think that that happens after couples have been together for a while. It's
Yes.
like, and they know each other, and I think it allows for, you know, more, real life getting
Yes.
in the way, and I kind of appreciate kind of looking at those aspects because I think, the new relationship energy is really fun and it's exciting and it's very flirty and it's all, it can be very fun to write, but I also find that where I think most most relationships will fall down because there's something that happens that the couple can't deal with.
Yes.
And I find that more interesting, like how do you manage a 42-year marriage? How do you manage, a relationship that started when you were in your early 20s and now you're, when you knew nothing about, you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, I sit there. I mean, I'm kind of when my older son was 20, reached 21, and I just kind of basically looked at him and realized I had moved across the country to be with my boyfriend. We had met in college in upstate New York. We met at Binghamton, and
Oh,
and then we had and then he had gotten a job in Glendale, Arizona, and I graduated from college, and I moved across the country to go be with him at 21. And when my older son hit 21, and I'm looking at him and going, what the hell were my parents thinking letting me do that? It's like I get it. I was an adult, but it was like, oh my God. I mean, you're not supposed to move across the country to be with a guy, right?
yeah. I bet
And
you can't
and
tell your son that. You couldn't have told your son that either. He wouldn't have listened to you
his
anyway.
well, his at the time his girlfriend was in Scotland.
Oh, so he was.
So it's even worse. And honestly, if he had wanted, if that relationship had worked out, I would have been wholeheartedly like, go be in Scotland. But
Yeah.
yeah, but at the
Yeah.
same time, looking at kind of what I didn't know and what I didn't understand,
Yeah.
and just, yeah,
Yeah. My youngest child is 25. She just turned 25 last December. That's the age I was when I got married. And she's like, Ma,
yeah,
I'm not ready for marriage. She doesn't even have a boyfriend. She's like, Ma, I'm trying to figure out how to pay my bills and pay my high student loans for my nursing. I don't have time for that. I was
yeah.
getting married. So you're right. We're young and don't know what the hell we're doing.
No. And yeah, and I think so. It's like the model, I think, in romance of being able to say, like, here are relationships, here's what you do, here's, how you work
Hmm.
through it. Here's how you talk to each other after you've had like some disagreement,
Yeah.
or, here's how you come together. I mean, I think you've also got a great question in there about um how do you compromise when you want two fundamental different things?
Yes.
And that,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, and I think that
Absolutely.
that's a great question, and it's like when that I think, like I said, I think romance provides those
It,
answers.
it allows us to answer the questions that help us grow as human beings
Yeah,
in ways that none of the other stories that we read do. None of them.
yeah, very
And
true.
that's why I like to write stories about older adults. And I'm moving even more away from the 30s now and trying to do late 30s, early 40s. I have a story that I'm writing right now where the guy is 55 and she's 53 and her children are grown and he's waited for her. Well, he didn't realize he was waiting for her. He just never picked anybody else up because she was his love, but she went and married somebody else because she was scared. It's like,
Yep,
it's
yep,
about how older people, not my age, because I'm older than that, but how they navigate new relationships based on without succumbing to the old fears and the old thought habits. But the fact is,
yeah,
you've grown,
yep,
that romance allows us to look at how people grow I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
it's true.
And that's why we love the good stories too. That's why we love the good stories too, because they show us those things. And it makes, I don't know about you, but they help. A lot of times I'm reading romance novels. I read Talbauer stories sometimes and I'm like, oh, dang it. I never even thought that. But look, he's making me look at myself now.
Oh, seriously.
He's making me look
Yeah.
at. He was the first one who made me pay attention to what my thinking was about gay people.
Hmm.
Because it wasn't something that I ever thought about. Because I was born in Jamaica. I grew up in Barbados and Jamaica and lived in Antigua before I came up here. When I got here, I was 30 years old. And that was never something on my radar until I read,
Yeah.
except for when the AIDS epidemic happened and everything was blamed on Black people, monkeys, and gay people. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
and that
do.
was so, uh, he made me go, hold up. And that's the purpose, I
Yeah.
think, of reading. It's to make you stop and think, And I love doing the thinking. So that's fine by me. I'm an English major. Let me think. I'm happy thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So it
cool.
was really lovely talking to you. And
Same.
so if I ever need to reach out to you, I'll just find whatever your thing is on Amazon so I can write to you
Okay.
there. Right. And I'll be like, okay, I just read this. Why'd you do that? I promise I won't harass you like that. I'll be very
That's
good.
fine.
I'll be fine. It was so nice to
I'm
meet you.
always up for good book conversation.
Yes, I
Right.
love those and I miss those.